Hello, everyone. Again, I'm Meghan and I'm the Director of Community Outreach and Partnerships for Henry Ford Health System. I'd say about 60% of my job is to ensure that the community is well informed and on board about many of the plans that Tom spoke about. Excuse me. And I should also mention that all of the images that you saw, a lot of this is still very conceptual. It's all still in the very early planning stages, so none of this is quite written in stone, although we're working with the community and local government agencies and other organizations to ensure that we can at least get as close to that plan as possible, which is all really very tremendously exciting work. I should also note, and I don't know if Tom mentioned this, the area that we are looking to develop is largely been distressed. It's been ignored for many years by many local municipal agencies, and just to their credit, it's mostly because of a lack of resources. So when we started to first engage with the community about this project, they were mostly excited that there was an organization that is showing some interest in actually redeveloping the neighborhood while maintaining the current residents that are there. So it's really, really exciting work, and it's actually some of the most fulfilling work I've ever done. So if we can go to the next slide, I'll just give a brief overview. So since 2011, Dr. John Popovich, who is the president and CEO of Henry Ford Hospital, our main campus on West Grand Boulevard, has held quarterly community meetings. In fact, we just had a community meeting last week on June 4th at Tabernacle Church. Generally, we get about 40 to 60 community members that attend. They're very, very interactive and involved with the meeting agenda that we generally set forth, and it's just a really great opportunity to continue to engage with community members that live in that area. Several leaders from Henry Ford Hospital attend these meetings, so it's not just our president and CEO, but also our vice president of human resources attends, our chief nursing officer attends, and so that really just gives community members a direct connection to Henry Ford for whatever particular reason or thing that they may need. So at our last meeting, we had about 5 or 6 people talking to our vice president of human resources about potential jobs. And it was really great to hear word straight from him about what they should be doing, what their resume should look like, when they should apply, and potential job openings that are coming up. And he also shares his contact information. So he always copies me on emails to community members, and it's been nice to say that we've hired a couple of residents that have actually come to these meetings, and it's just very enlightening, I think, to provide that link directly to Henry Ford to community members without there having to be sort of a middle ground. So that's one of the great things that we do there. Other strategies of supporting community organizations is that many of our leaders around the system participate in community boards. So like I said, I sit on the boards for Black Family Development and Crossroads of Michigan, but most of our leaders sit on boards of organizations throughout the city of Detroit, offering their expertise, a lot of times with budgeting and finance and human resources, to those organizations that may not necessarily have the means or the resources to have that. You can go to the next slide. And that's just a recap of our community meetings. Again, we get about 40 to 60 community members that attend. Our next meeting is September 2014, and I look to really build an agenda that is both informative and also interactive with community members. So we're not just feeding presentations to them and they sit and listen and go home, but we want to make sure that they interact with us, that we get their feedback in terms of what they'd like to hear. In terms of our community development project, in 2012, we led about a year-long community, what are we calling it, engagement process for our community development project. So for the entire year, every meeting, we would really focus those meetings on what the community would like to see out of our development project. It was very interesting to interact with them on this level because for the most part, and again, I have to reiterate that this is an area that's been largely ignored for so long, they really wanted to see police. They wanted to see their grass cut, and they wanted to see their lights turned on. So it took, I would say, a few months to move that conversation from basic city services to, I'd like to see a grocery store, or I'd like to see more walkable communities, or I'd like to see, other amenities that a lot of us probably think about when we think about our neighborhood. So at the end of the 12 months, I feel like we got some really great input from the community, from the current residents of this neighborhood, of what they'd like to see in terms of housing, of what they'd like to see in terms of amenities, and also keeping in with some of the city services. And we took their input and we made that a part of the master plan that Tom presented about. So not only do we have our vision for the hospital expansion, for housing and things like that, but we also have the community's input for what their priorities are and what they'd like to see, which is very important when it comes to developing a community, because there's a very sensitive and fine line between developing a community and doing it with the community's input and really in partnership. So that's been a really great part of what we've done. Additionally, I oversee and really manage our interactions with the Detroit City Council and other local government agencies. It's important to have those relationships and working with them, because we need the City Council's approval for a lot of the work that we need to do. That means, rezoning ordinances. Some of the land that we're looking at is zoned at an R4, which is really, really heavy industrial. And we want to bring that back, actually, and have it rezoned at a much lighter level, and also rezoned for some residential and business districts. So we have been before the City Council countless times. I used to count. I can't count them anymore because it happens so frequently now. But we also take our CEO, Nancy Schlichting, she's CEO of the health system, Dr. Popovich, and Tom and I. We go pretty frequently before the council for various reasons, mostly because we want to also keep them informed in terms of what we're doing with our development plans. Like I said, we have no desire to just come in and develop a community and say, hey, come on board. We want to do this in tandem with community organizations and with our local government agencies hand in hand. Tom spoke briefly about the Cardinal Health building, which is really exciting because it's the first kind of stake in the ground in our 300-acre development. We've been working on this project for a few years now, and again, working with the community has been very, very important in terms of getting the work that we need done. So we held countless community meetings in addition to our quarterly community meetings to inform community members about what Cardinal Health is, how this development will impact neighborhoods, from everything from truck traffic to local hiring. So all of that has been very, very important community work. There was some talk of a community benefits agreement, which we worked with this particular community group for about 2 years. We moved away from the idea of a community benefits agreement and actually signed a letter of understanding with that local organization, which really identifies a lot of our commitments as it relates to this project. It just puts all of it in writing. So like I said, we had the Henry Ford Health System Community Letter of Understanding, which was actually just signed last month. After 2 years of working with a community group, we received a lot of their input in terms of what they would like to see from Henry Ford and Cardinal Health, and we put it all into a letter. And so the letter it's very comprehensive. Tom and I worked hip to hip on this for, like I said, those 2 years. But we really think it's a great template and a good guide for development. I should say responsible development in the city of Detroit. It keeps the community's input and needs and protection at heart. And it's just we're very, very proud of this document because I would say about 90% of it comes from the community, and I think it provides a really great guide and template for responsible community development. And these are just a few of the key players from Henry Ford that helped put that document together. Our Chief Diversity Officer, Randy Walker, was very key in helping us move this forward. Myself and Tom, and also our senior legal counsel. And at the center of that, we always keep the community there. Where we are today, we are looking to build a community advisory council that will be made up of local community members from nonprofit organizations and other civic organizations and grassroots community leaders. We would like this council to really advise Henry Ford on things that we should be doing. If there's a gap that needs to be filled within the community, we hope that this advisory council can help us fill it. We will probably kick off our first meeting sometime this fall, and we'll probably meet quarterly thereafter. This organization will have direct access to our president and CEO because this group will largely advise our president on our community activity and really giving us more input in terms of what we should be doing. We'll be developing a website for the South of the Boulevard Community Development, which will include a lot of images and things like that that Tom just presented. And again, this is really just a tool to further educate community members that are within the community boundaries and outside of it. I can't stress any more than I'm saying at this point that we really want to have the community's input every step of the way as we continue through this development project. And then implementing the letter of understanding. So a part of that letter is that we meet with the community, I think, on a monthly basis to update them on several of our projects and where we are on things and receive their input on those projects. And our first meeting, I think, is tomorrow morning, where we have the community attending, we have the developer attending, and one of the companies, Cardinal Health. Again, I've worked on projects throughout the city in my former life, and I've never seen an organization that was so quite committed to making sure that the community was standing or is standing hand in hand with the development. So what we're doing, we hope that other developers across the city really can take a look at and really mirror some of the work that we're doing, particularly in Midtown, and as Midtown expands, making sure that the community is actually a part of those plans, and once projects are completed, can remain residents of those areas if they so choose. That's it. Thank you.